guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who do not know, I am Alex, and as promised, update on our family. Episode 3 is here. It took me a little bit longer to do this one because so much came up from watching the last episode to now. There was just a lot with my kiddo, and then there was school, and then there was a lot of sickness. So we are finally here with episode 3. So Hannah talks about how her and followers waited months for updates on Huxley, which I think is important to note because they really didn't say anything for a very, very long time. So I want to make that clear. I mean, long time in internet years before we begin. And then before we continue. And then Hannah said that she posted a bizarre video on IG with like the strange diamond filter, which if you've never seen it, it's like diamonds coming out of your eyes, almost like you're crying. So that was bizarre. And then Sophie talks about how she doesn't consider herself a watchdog, and that Huxley had been in their home for 2.5 years at this point, and Micah had made the decision to completely change her content. So I want to make a note about that because as somebody who likes to change up her content, who likes to not like be a niche in regards to that, I could understand how it would be a red flag for someone that you follow to be a completely family vlogger and then suddenly switch up her content and completely remove her kids. Like, I could see how that could be a red flag for people. Just want to make that abundantly clear. Like, I get how that's a red flag. Like, she went from all family videos to cleaning. I think that's why I choose not to have a niche, and also why I don't choose to show my child, is so that way there's no, like, I'm not locked into a certain type of video. That's just my opinion. And it was very, very clear they were dodging comments, they were ignoring comments, they were deleting comments, even to the point, which I believe I mentioned in my last video, where they noticed in James's YouTube how there was one less car seat. Like, they were ignoring the comments and the questions, which, as someone who creates content, as someone who, does put her life out there, especially on Instagram, I could get, to some extent, not responding to things. Like, there's certain things that I don't respond to and that I don't comment back to. But if there was legitimate questions about, like, if I was a family vlogger and there's legitimate questions as to where my child is, I feel like I would answer those questions. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't family vlog, so I'm trying to put myself in a position where, like, I look at family vlogging. Family vlogging is not something I've ever been into, even though I can make a buttload of money, because that is something I did learn in this, that you can make a buttload of money with family vlogging. It's just not in my, wheelhouse. And then it talks about how they post a video and Hannah gets a notification, and like the first 3 minutes to 4 minutes, I want to say, is they talk about how much they love Huxley, and Hannah says that she wants to believe that they're genuine in their love for Huxley. But then James immediately starts talking, and he says how they were not told. He claims that when they got home, there was more special needs than they were aware of or told of, which I feel like is not 100% accurate. Now, I will say, as a special needs parent, and again, this is pretty much the only time and the last time I'll talk about it, I don't feel like you're ever really, I don't want to say prepared, but there's so many things when it comes to having a special needs child that you kind of learn as you go. It's not something that you get a book on and go about your day. That's not reality. So I think there was a little bit of an expectation on their part that they were gonna somehow get a diagnosis and then get handed a book and life was just gonna be easy. That's not reality at all. And they were trying to get his needs met. Now, that I do believe, because James did show quite a bit of doctor's appointments at one point. So I do believe that at least for the sake of argument, James was at least trying to get his needs met. And then they talk about how numerous medical professionals felt he needed more and found him a new forever home, which I go back and forth on as to if I believe the validity of that, because I could see a world in which a medical professional would intervene But at the same time, I also see a world where they could be making that up to make it look better. I don't know. And then they posted that video and they basically also said that they were no longer going to talk about it for Huxley's privacy and Huxley's future, and there would be no questions about it. And I do find that a little strange for people who did family vlog to suddenly be like, we're not going to talk about it for his privacy. And that's all I'm going to say on that. And then Hannah mentions how there's holes in the story, which there absolutely is holes in the story. Before I continue, I do want to say that Huxley is now, according in the documentary, they talk about it like a hot second, so I'm going to do it. He's now in a wonderful home with someone who loves him, and that's all we can ask for. So we're just going to call what is. And then Sophie talks about how she tweets about not supporting the Staffers, like Micah and James, and what they did. And BuzzFeed picks up the story. A lot of this is people just didn't believe that their emotion was real. So now, as you know, and as I know, when the internet suspects something to be false or information to be untrue or looking for a conspiracy theory, I say theory in like quotations, they're going to go look for things. And something that Micah did, which I don't remember if they mentioned this in another episode or a different episode or a portion of this, but they talk about how an old clip starts resurfacing where Micah is talking about there's two actually. An old clip surfaces about how Micah's talking about switching Huxley's therapy, and Sophie's the one that points this out. Switching Huxley's therapy from the expensive one to a cheaper one while she's wearing a $6,500 bracelet. And that's what raises it for red flag for Sophia. And to be honest, that's what raises a red flag for me as well. Like, how, like, I would have sold the bracelet to afford therapy. Like, that's how my brain would have dealt with that. Just my 2 cents on that. And so people still felt like this apology wasn't enough. I shouldn't even call it apology. This video wasn't enough. That it wasn't enough. And it was clear that they were doing something and they were concerned about their other child. So what they decided to do was, if you're an influencer and you do something, people start messaging your sponsors, and that's what they did. The woman had a lot of sponsors: Canon, Goodnights, Fabletics, which it's important to know with Fabletics, Kate Hudson has come out and said that they do not work with Micah anymore, and it was brought to their attention, and thank you. Plated Baby, Kroger, Huggies, Chili's, Budget Blinds, Big Lots, Homemade Simple, Meyer, Aero Breast Pump, Cascade, Glossier, and Harbaugh. And then, so as they do that, she starts getting dropped left and right from, sponsors. It's like overnight people are dropping her. And I will say, from a business standpoint, that is a good PR move on their part to distance themselves from her in a wake of a scandal. It's not uncommon for celebrities, influencers, for companies to be like, oh no, we don't support, like, we don't touch that with a 10-foot pole. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not uncommon for them to do so. And then an old video that Micah had uploaded, then deleted, then edited that same video, and then uploaded it again. Old footage surfaces of the fact that Huxley's thumb was duct taped, which was clear they were trying to prevent him from sucking on his thumb. So because of that, people started to get concerned about her other children and if they were safely in that house. Along with this, Micah starts getting death threats. So they start calling CPS, and Micah starts getting death threats basically at the same time. I will say that an investigator did go out, and the report shows that there was no signs of abuse and that their adoption was done legally. Okay? So Micah does kind of what I like to call a Hail Mary. And she tries to save the situation by doing an Instagram post. I don't remember when she posted this, but she posted this long thing on Instagram to deal with confusion and to explain the situation and to help her. And it didn't help her, clearly. So basically, she posted that on IG and she basically disappeared from social media and YouTube. She does not post on IG, and she does not post to YouTube anymore. She took the brunt of what they did. James was able to survive with James's garage because the kids weren't attached to it, really. Unfortunately, Micah did get blamed more than Jay. And I will say at this part, I kind of just ended my notes there because at this part they bring another family on that rehomed an adopted child, and how she spoke out when Micah got it. And to be honest with you, I don't know enough about adoption to comment on rehoming. They did have an expert on that does with adoption and claims that this is common and happens frequently. Again, I'm not an expert to know, so I'm not going to comment on it. I will also say that Micah and James were reached out to by HBO to do this documentary. They chose not to comment. I don't blame them. I don't think there's anything they could really say to save themselves at this point. Huxley, like I said, was adopted and he has a beautiful, beautiful family that love him and care about him and are protecting his privacy, and that's their priority. And that's how it should be. And that's basically it. I definitely struggled through this documentary just from my experience. I don't think it ever... The only thing, like, I have really left to say is that I hope James and Micah can live with themselves in the decision that they've made and what they've done. I'm not going to speculate what they've done. I'm not going to speculate what they haven't done. I'm not here to make a big payday. I feel that they have been dragged through the mud enough by YouTubers. That's not my goal here. My goal here is to just raise awareness, have a discussion about what happened. We can't really know for sure. We'll probably never 100% know the truth, and that would involve James and Micah coming forward. They're not going to. So that's where it leaves it today, and I feel like, again, it's just important to reiterate, Huxley is safe now. Huxley has a family that loves him and is taking care of him, and at the end of the day, despite his story on a documentary and how it started, we don't have to continue to harp on this little boy's story. And I just think we're kind of at the point now, from my viewpoint, it's been a couple years, might be time to just, as much as I hate to say this, like, let it be at this point. I think Micah has realized that I'm guessing that she has realized she's made way too many mistakes and that she can't come back to social media. Although I thought somebody else who did, in my opinion, way worse, like, realized she couldn't make a comeback, but she tried to make a comeback on TikTok. So I would not be surprised if Micah tried, but I just hope everyone in this situation has learned better. And I hope this documentary, because I don't know much about adoption, like, at all, and, like, rehoming, and I hope that we can all start having, like, conversations about, like, adoption and, like, the trauma involved with adoption. I feel like that would be a good thing to do from this documentary. And I think what would also be good is to have more conversations around preparing families to have special needs children. That's just my opinion. So that is my video for today. Please give this video a big thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please go and subscribe. Have a good day, and I will see you all next time.